Hey, what's up, everyone? Good afternoon. Hello, and welcome to Johnny and Clyde, the Rocketman Big Book Study. We're just two sober alcoholics reading and studying and discussing the big book together the way that Joe and Charlie did back in the day. So let's start getting our minds right with a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And now Lindsay's going to come in and read the set aside prayer for us.
Good afternoon, Lindsay, grateful recovering alcoholic. God, today help me set aside everything I think I know about you, everything I think I know about myself, everything I think I know about others, and everything I think I know about my own recovery, so I may have an open mind and a new experience with all of these things. Please help me see the truth.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Okay. In 1973, Joe McHugh introduced Charlie P. as an AA speaker at an Al Anon convention. Joe and Charlie soon discovered that they shared a love for the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. So they started traveling between their homes and discussing and reading the big book together, and it became a regular event. You see, Johnny and Clyde met in the Zoo Crew in 2022, and we also discovered that we shared a love for the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. So we were asked to do a podcast, and here we are today with you. We meet every Sunday at 2 p.m. until 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Please have your big book handy so you can read along and take notes. Also, underline and highlight what we read. We also would love for you to participate and bring your input to what we're reading each time that we sit down together. We will be recording the audio of these meetings to share them with others. We have a podcast. You can go to our website at thezoocrew.org. See, the purpose of this big book study meeting is to help you when you're meeting with a prospect or what we might call a sponsee, or just talking about sobriety in general. See, we want you to be armed with the facts about yourself and the AA program, because freedom from alcohol comes through taking the 12 steps and working with others. Page 15 of the 12 and 12 tells us what the 12 steps are. AA's 12 steps are a group of principles, spiritual in nature, which, if practiced as a way of life, can expel the obsession to drink and enable the sufferer to become happily and usefully whole. How soon do you want to be happy, joyous, and free? We suggest that you purchase a copy of the big book for future use if you don't have one. You might want to underline, highlight, and take notes as we all study together. Please order your literature from AA so that the money goes to Alcoholics Anonymous and to ensure that you get a good copy. Here in the original Zoo, we are not advocating that you rush through the steps. We highly suggest that you have a sense of urgency in taking the 12 steps and having them become a way of life sooner than later. Act as if this was a matter of life and death, because it actually is a matter of life and death. Once again, how soon do you want to be happy, joyous, and free? You could go to our website at thezoocrew.org and order a copy of the big book as well as read it online. Now, the big book is our basic text, and it contains a full recipe for recovery. It's impossible to find a loophole in the big book that excludes you from being a member of AA. So we'll be reading the big book today. We are in the chapter Into Action, and we'll be picking up on the bottom of page 87. If circumstances warrant. And right now I'm going to turn it over to Clyde. He's going to bring us up to speed, and then we're going to start reading.
Yeah, thanks, Cuzin. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm an alcoholic. My name's Clyde. Welcome to our Big Book Study podcast here. It's a privilege and an honor to spend this time together studying the Big Book. So we're learning step 11 now, how to live in step 11. This is the one about prayer and meditation with our higher power. And just to bring us up to date on, where we're at. So, we've taken the first 9 steps that are outlined in the doctor's opinion and the first 83 pages of the book. And we've had a personality change sufficient to bring about recovery from alcoholism. We now have a profound alteration in our reaction to life. We're different people. We're happy, we're joyous, we're free, we're feeling good. We've had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. That's the first 9 steps. Now, in steps 10 and 11 is where we live. We live in steps 10 and 11. We take steps 1 through 9. We live in 10 and 11. And that's what we're learning about now, step 11. And this is where we get the guidance and communication with our higher power, back and forth. We're communicating, we're talking to our higher power, we're asking for guidance, and our higher power is guiding us through intuition, through inspiration, through decisions that come to us. Bill calls it that vital sixth sense, the great reality deep within, that unsuspected inner resource. That's what we're communicating with. And some people a lot of us call it God, or you can call it whatever you want, but it's your higher power. And so we're learning, we've been studying here. Bill tells us about this prayer and meditation, which is talking and listening to our higher power. And so what we do is in the morning on awakening, we learned on page 86 that we ask God to direct our thinking. So that sets us up in the right frame of mind so that we're going to be thinking the right way and doing the right thing. And then, as we go through the day, we're communicating with that higher power through prayer and meditation. And when we retire at night, he tells us we constructively review our day and see just how well we did at avoiding selfishness, which causes, dishonesty and resentment and anger and fear. So I want to, honestly review myself at the end of each day. How well did I do? Did I get a good grade on the test today? How well did I practice these principles? So, we're learning a very simple process here. On page 86, it mentions about 7 or 8 times that we ask God. It mentions the word ask and pray and prayer. And then on page 87, about 7 or 8 times. So there's about 15 to 16 times Bill tells us ask, pray, inquire, prayer. It's all about communicating with our higher power. So we're going to pick up now on page 87. This is getting toward the end of the instructions for the 11th step. And here's what it says about possibly doing our prayer and meditation with someone else, a friend or a spouse. It says, if circumstances warrant, we ask our wives or friends to join us in morning meditation. If we belong to a religious denomination which requires a definite morning devotion, we attend to that also. If not members of religious bodies, we sometimes select and memorize a few set prayers which emphasize the principles we have been discussing. There are many helpful books also. Suggestions about these may be obtained from one's priest, minister, or rabbi. And here Bill tells us, be quick to see where religious people are right. This is not a religious program, but they do offer, it says make use of what they offer. They offer some valuable spiritual information for us to use in our pursuit of living by spiritual principles. So we're going to stop right there. And I see some hands went up, and then we're going to talk about maybe doing this prayer and meditation with friends and or our spouse. So Mama Bear, you want to come in and share with us? Come on in. We have 90-second shares here.
Thank you, Clyde. Thank you, Cuz doing this. I really do appreciate it. Mama Bear still an alcoholic. It's funny that we started this thing last week, and it's like it jumped out about doing it with other people, um, and by and actually my sister that's 25 years sober and she's in California. She's going through the fire thing. Anyway, we started doing the prayer and meditation thing on Sundays, and we talked about doing it now on an everyday basis. So, it's so we're hoping that this will, we're doing it for our families and our children, because we came from a very broken down family. So we're trying to see if that could be restored by prayer, meditation, and by doing this. But it works. It's been working anyway. I just wanted to share that with you all. Thank you very much for letting me share. Peace out.
Okay. Thanks, Mama Bear. Hi, Charity. Come on in and share with us.
Hi, Clyde. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy that I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic, and it hit me like a ton of bricks of probably 4 or 5 years ago, reading the directions on 86 and 87, and it said, "Hey, if you got friends," and I was thinking, how about my sponsees? So, oh gosh, I think it was 4 years ago that Ted and I decided to start including both of our sponsees on a conference call every morning. And we read anywhere from 6 to 9 meditations, and everybody brings their meditation, and we get to chat about what we heard and what action steps we get to take out of the daily meditations from Alcoholics Anonymous, Al-Anon, and so I just think it's really, really awesome. And we got spiritually sick for a short time, and we stopped doing the morning meditations. But yesterday we just picked up, and we went from Ted and I sharing morning meditations to now there's 6 of us in just 24 hours. So I'm really excited. It helps me a lot. And it really is useful to see other people's perspective on exactly the same information. And it's awesome for us to have an open dialogue, because I may hear an action step that somebody else doesn't, and vice versa. So I'm really grateful that I get to do that with some friends every morning. Thank you.
Yeah, that is wonderful. Thanks for sharing that, Charity. That's what's up. Yeah, love it. Come on in, cousin. What's happening?
Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm Jonathan, and I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, and last week, yeah, we really, I really enjoyed the podcast, us discussing this, and remember what we came up with. That I had to learn how, and then the book even to keep it simple when I do this. Because I let you guys know that I had made the mistake in the past of just like, coming in like a football team, and the person, my wife or my sons, that I asked them to pray with me, and then I just go like really off the rail, and realize that I may have confused them, more than connected with them. And so I'm glad that it says that, it keeps it simple. It says just memorize a few set prayers. I don't have to quote the whole Bible like I used to, maybe the serenity prayer, I tell you, I was able to start doing this with my wife a couple of weeks, and I just do the Our Father. And I tell you that it actually blew her mind, because I used to do the jump, rock, and roll. And when I just did the Our Father and said thank you and moved on, she kind of looked at me like, what the? I don't know if anybody ever experienced that I'm keeping it so simple that people are like, okay, and stuff like that. But yeah, it's important that we keep it simple. The Serenity Prayer, the Our Father, the St. Francis Prayer, just one at a time, I would suggest, don't start laying it on too thick right off the top of the deck, because that sometimes can start with other things. What do you guys think of that? Anybody ever experienced that too?
Yeah, thanks, cousin, for sharing that. And I just want to point out that the previous paragraph said that we usually conclude the period of meditation with a prayer that we be shown all through the day what our next step is to be. And so I remind myself often when I'm going through the day, it's like, oh yeah, I ask God to direct my thinking and my actions throughout the day. And I remind myself that he's guiding me now. It's like, hey, wow, this really works. So yeah, keep it simple. Like cousin said, let's keep it simple. Hey, come on in, Elissa.
Thank you, Clyde. Alyssa, recovered alcoholic. So there's a few things that popped out at me. especially that last sentence. Be quick to see where religious people are right. Make use of what they offer. You know, on page 59, it says there is one who has all power. That one is God. Now, it tells me in we agnostics that I can have my own conception of that power, that one who has all power, God, right? So I can have my own conception. And but for me, because I've taken heed to that, be quick to see where religious people are right, make use of what they offer, right? Because my goal is to grow in understanding and effectiveness and to strengthen that relationship with my higher power that I call God, right? And prayer and meditation, well, prayer I get to talk to God, and meditation I'm listening. So that is the best way for me to grow that relationship. But you know, the one thing that I've been seeing lately is the principles. Um, is that it's all about the principles. Because if I go to AA, if I go to church, you know, all these things that have the spiritual principles, the people muddy it up. Our self-will muddies it up, but the principles are the same. You know, we have one common goal, and that's to live the spiritual principles of this one who has all power, God, right? Um, so it's important that I hit erasing all prejudice. You know, we talked about that in earlier steps, but that's showing up for me here again. But then also, um, if not members of religious bodies, we sometimes select and memorize a few set prayers which emphasize the principles we have been discussing. Well, it told me back when I said the third step prayer that my wording could be quite optional as long as the intention was there. So the same thing over and over is what I just picked up, something I hadn't picked up before. I've always held on to that last sentence, be quick to see where religious people are right, because my goal is to have an intimate two-way relationship with the one who has all power. And you guys told me back on page 58 that that one's God. You also told me in the agnostics that I could have my own conception of that God, however limited it be at the time that I create that conception, establish that relationship. And as a result of that, today, I have the God of my experience. Yes, he's still the one with all power, but today it's the God of my experience. And all I had to do was follow these simple rules, but I had to clear away prejudice because I'm seeing today the importance of smashing all of my old ideas because I can cloud myself from the sunlight of the spirit if I continue to take those with me. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Elissa. And while we're talking about our higher power, I got to tell you, when I got here at the Zoo Crew a couple years ago, I was in the fourth dimension and I was happy, joyous, and free. But it's since coming here that listening to Joe and Charlie, the way they break down chapter 4, We Agnostics, and that higher power, there are more than 20 second step promises in the chapter We Agnostics. And that's what blew my mind wide open and my spiritual development. I've gone from the fourth to the 400th to the 4 millionth dimension now, and I still have a long way to go. The willingness, the open-mindedness that is a result of studying that chapter, especially the way Joe and Charlie go through it, is literally mind-blowing. The experience can't be described in words. It is amazing. So that's what this program's all about, our relationship with our higher power. And this is how we communicate with our higher power, steps 10 and 11. And the best way to get there is also, by the way, we're going to learn all about it, is step 12. You know, that is a really good way to get out of self and into the groove, so to speak, into alignment with our higher power and its will for us. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue then. So yeah, if there's someone else that wants to pray and meditate with you, friends, sponsees, sponsor, husband, wife, children, whoever, by all means, it's a great idea. And also be quick to see where religious people are right. And like Cuzin said, keep it all simple, just keep it simple. So here's what we do. Now, okay, check this out. This paragraph at the bottom of page 87 and the top of page 88 is there's an action that we take in the first part of the paragraph, and then there's a promise that results And it's explained in the second half of the paragraph. So if we take this action, the outcome is promised. This is amazing. You're going to love this. So here's what we do when we're going through the day. It says this is the action we take. As we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful. So if I'm getting agitated or doubtful, guess what? That means self-will's creeping in. That's me wishing things were different, thinking something should be different. That's me playing God, okay? So I pause when I pick up on that, when I get agitated or doubtful, and ask, who do I ask? God, my higher power. Ask for the right thought or action. So this is the action I take. I pause and I ask God, and then I constantly remind myself, it says I am no longer running the show. Humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, thy will be done. So this is a very common thing. If you really pay attention to your day, every experience you have today, every interaction, you'll notice that you should be pausing and praying and just taking a deep breath. That's why we have that pause, pray, and proceed, one of our chips, the Rule 62 chip. So we pause. That's the action we take. And here's the promise. Here's what happens. We are then in much less danger of excitement, fear, anger, worry, self-pity, or foolish decisions. Wow. Okay. So all I have to do is pause, take a deep breath, and remember that I'm not running the show. God is. It says we become much more efficient. Oh, I like that. We do not tire so easily, for we are not burning up energy foolishly as we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. Wow. Imagine that. It works. It really does. That's the shortest paragraph in the big book. And it is so true. It works. It really does. So let's talk about this action and promise and how effective it is and what a blessing it is. Wow. Come on in, Alyssa.
Thank you, Clyde. Alyssa, recovered alcoholic. The simplicity of the program. As I go through the day, I pause when agitated or doubtful. So if I get agitated or if I'm doubtful, all I gotta do is pause. That's simple, right? That's not always easy. It's simple. The direction is simple. And I have to remind myself I'm no longer running the show. And yes, that's the direction and that's the promise. But, I'm in much less danger of excitement, fear, anger, worry, self-pity, or foolish decisions because I'm living in God's will. Thy will, not mine, be done. That happens for me. The minute that I try to take that control back, that I start playing God again, well, all of this disappears. It goes up in smoke. The foolish decisions are right back there. The um, the fear, the anger, the worry, all those things are right there waiting for me. But the simplicity is if I pause and I ask God, pause, pray, proceed. It's that simple, and that is my experience. And it works. It really does. That is the shortest paragraph in our big book. It's page 88, line 8. That's my experience when I followed the simple, clear-cut directions up to this point. And they're simple and clear if I lay aside all prejudice, right? I have to clear my mind. I have to look at what I'm being asked to do. It's not always easy. It's hard. It's really hard sometimes, but it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. And every time I do it, it works. It never fails. Never, ever fails. The only time it doesn't work is if I want to be cute and add some direction in there somewhere along the line that I make up. If I want to change the black and white letters, yeah, but that's self-will again. So I quit being cute like that because it wasn't really cute to begin with. Cute is stepping to the side and saying, hey, I'm not God. So thy will be done, not mine. I'm going to use the brain you gave me, but I'm going to let your will be done because when I try to take over your role, it doesn't work. I like when it works because the peace and serenity that I get, that's unmatchable. So thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Alyssa. What do you think of this suggestion here, cousin? Why don't you tell us about it?
Oh man, you know what this this reminds me of? This reminds me of you know how I'm just going to take over the world. You know, I mean, I've rejected help. I've told people off. I've gave the order. I've done all of these things, you know, and haven't even got out of bed yet. Haven't even got out of bed yet. You know, I could get out of. I used to get. Oh man, this shit is so real. I used to get out of bed fucking exhausted. I'd get out of bed exhausted just from being in my head, laying there for that first 10 minutes, just really going crazy and you know, taking care of everything that I can't take care of anyway. You know, yeah, that's what this reminded me of. And I'm so glad I don't have to do that anymore. You know, I can wake up and pull my head together and thank God for being alive, you know, and ask him to be with me. But yeah, anybody can identify. I used to, by the time I got out of bed, I'd fucking be exhausted because I'd be all up in my head with all of my problems, all of your problems, the one I can't fix, the one I can't fix, the things I could fix, the things I can't fix, how I'm going to do this for you, or I'm going to take this from you. And just, I'd be fucking exhausted before I even got out of bed, you know? Because, you know, our mind can actually do that once it starts racing and sweating and taking us through. Because, you know, in my mind, the stuff that goes on in my mind, my body actually believes that it's happening, you know? So I could wear myself out just sitting in a chair, you know? So glad I don't have to do that anymore. I wonder if anybody, that ever happened to you, Clyde?
Yeah, I used to be there. I used to live in that space too. That's called burning up energy foolishly, trying to arrange life to suit myself, you know? I'm going to tell everybody how to do what they should be doing, how they should be doing it. I was going to be calling the shots, running the show. And wow, what a waste of time. Unbelievable. Exhausting. Yeah. Come on in, Elissa.
Thank you, Clyde. Thank you, Cuz, for your share. I was listening and what came up to my mind because I feel like God is having me cross-reference, you know, where did this show up in the book before this right here? And what Cuz was saying, you know, he woke up exhausted because he was trying to play God. Well, playing God doesn't work. Where did it tell me that?
Mm-hmm.
We're on page 88, right?
Page
So
63.
16,
Page 63. We had to quit
16.
playing God. It didn't
Oh,
work.
hold on. It's actually page 62, 16 pages previously, where it says, this is the how and the why of it. First of all, we had to quit playing God. It didn't work. So 16 pages prior, I'm recovered within 16 pages. Again, the simplicity, right? More is always revealed. This is I'm gonna get excited. I'm already excited, but you know, like the the for each of us, our journey is different, right? Our experiences, they are revealed, they come at different times in our sobriety, but it has come to all who have honestly sought it, right? And that part that God just, you know, my God, I call it God. So if that offends you, I suggest you work with your sponsor, but that's how I'm going to refer to it because God is in this book. The word, I don't know how many times, but a lot. Um, but if I go back, the within 16 pages, I've turned my will. I went from self-centered to selfish, self-centered, right? To having a new employer, being all powerful. It provided what I needed if I kept close to it and performed its work well, not Alyssa's work well, God's work well. I have to perform God's work well for this to be happening. And within 16 pages, I've recovered from that seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. Yes, the previous pages are important. I'm not saying disregard those. Don't take it that way. But just from going into, I, I took the step of where I had to quit playing God because it didn't work. And I was burning up energy foolishly to those 16 pages later where I can pause, um, pray and proceed when I go throughout the day humbly remind myself, I no longer am running this show. Thy will be done. And all of those things that it warned me about on 62 and 63 about trying to play God are now I'm receiving the promise of I'm no longer in danger, and I'm no longer in fear, anger, worry, self-pity, or foolish decisions. I become much more efficient. I don't tire so easily. I don't wake up tired because I'm not trying to play a role that I wasn't assigned. you know, that's not burning up energy foolishly. And it works. It really does if I follow the direction. But I'm not being cute anymore. There's no more cute of inserting my will. That used to be cute for a really long time. At least that was the lie I was telling myself. So thanks for letting me share.
Thanks. Love your enthusiasm, Melissa. Thank you. Yeah, what's up, cousin?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm so glad that you brought us back to that, and it lines right up with what we're reading. And what it reminded me of is the experience that I had when this was pointed out to me in the book. And I had read it many times, but I remember when the guy who was working with me, Derek Carr, he stopped and he said it, man. He said, this is the how and the hot and the why of it. And it was like, here's the deal. Here is the deal. We had to quit playing God. You know why? Because it didn't work. And he asked me to say that out loud, and I had realized that I had never said that. And sometimes I sit down with people and we realize that we had never said that either, you know? And it's just it blows my mind how these things that come up and that finally come out can actually make a difference. Because I had to quit playing God. It didn't work, you know? And that's the deal. That's the deal. And that was my problem. That was a big part of my problem. So I don't know if anybody can identify with it. And I challenge you. There's people in this room that have probably never made that statement to themselves. I need to quit playing God. It's not working, you know. I would say try that on for size. And it's especially effective when I'm saying it with someone else who understands exactly why I'm saying it. Thanks.
Thanks, cousin. We appreciate you. Thanks for sharing that. So, okay. Let's go ahead and continue then. Everybody clear on how we communicate with our higher power and all the benefits of doing that. And it really is that simple. We just pause, pray, and proceed. It's like, wow, I can do that. I can do this. I just need to remind myself, thy will be done. Go, what is God's will for me? It's that really that simple. So we'll go ahead and continue then. The last paragraph, well, I guess there's two more. It says, we alcoholics are undisciplined. So we let God discipline us in the simple way we have just outlined. Okay. So he just gave us a simple outline on page 86 and 87, how God disciplines us. It's very straightforward, very simple directions, not complicated. Alyssa, come on in.
Thank you, Clyde. Alyssa, recovered alcoholic. So it says, we alcoholics are undisciplined. We let God discipline us in the simple way we have just outlined. So if I go back to page 85, it says, it is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along these lines all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. Okay, so as Clyde was reading that, to me, that explains how I'm undisciplined. It's a spiritual malady. So I have to stay in fit spiritual condition because I'm not cured of this spiritual malady. It's always going to be there, but I can stay recovered. I have a daily reprieve contingent on the means of my spiritual condition, right? But there's, I don't want to read the next sentence, but to me, that cross-reference to that paragraph on page 85, how are we undisciplined? Well, we can rest on our laurels. So we need to stay spiritually fit. And that's what they just outlined to us. So thanks for letting me share that part.
Yeah, thanks, Alyssa, for sharing with us. We appreciate you. Yeah, so playing God, one of the definitions is to behave in a manner that where you act as if you can control other people's lives, outcomes, and events. That's what playing God is. So that's what we have to quit doing. That's why we say, thy will be done. We pause and remind ourselves constantly as we go through the day. So that's how God disciplines us. Now, it says, but this is not all. It says there is action and more action. Faith without works is dead. The next chapter is entirely devoted to step 12. Okay, so step 12 gets its whole own chapter. It's 13 pages long, pages 89 through 103. Now, we just finished the chapter Into Action, chapter 6, which began, Into Action was started with step 5. It says, having made our personal inventory, what shall we do about it? So we did steps 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 in that one chapter, Into Action, chapter 6. Steps 5 through 11 from page 72 through 88. Now, that was 16 pages for all those steps. Now we got one entire chapter devoted to one step, 13 pages, all about step 12. Elissa?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks. Thanks, Clyde. I didn't know if Cuz wanted to go, but there's so much just even in this one, right? Because I don't know how many times I've heard someone that I've worked with, that I've been given the opportunity to work with, they're like, okay, well, I'm not ready to sponsor. I'm not ready to do this. And then it tells me, it says, faith without works is dead. I can't keep it if I don't give it away. And then when Clyde was reading Faith Without Works, it reminds me of what it says on page 76. Let me get there so I can read it. It says, now we need more action, without which we find that faith without works is dead. These suggestions are coming from our experience. This is our experience. There I get to move in the behaviors that are of God's will, not self-will anymore. And here I get to give away what was so freely given to me. How have I recovered? Let me come and take your hand, and we will trudge this road together. And I can give you the spiritual tools that allowed me to become recovered. And I get to give them away to you. I get to share these spiritual tools. And while I do that, it's the promises of step 12 are amazing. We haven't read that yet, but there is more action. So faith without works is dead. I can't keep it if I don't give it away. And I'm about to learn how I can give it away. Other suggestions through this big book. So thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Alyssa. Yeah, and I'll just mention, chapter 7 it says working with others. If you go to page 60 in the big book, in chapter 5, how it works, he tells us what step 12 is at the top of the page. And step 12 is, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So that's what the 12th step is. We've had a spiritual awakening. Now we want to carry this message and practice these principles in all our affairs. So the way we do that is by working with others. That's why chapter 7 is called Working with Others. That's how we carry the message. And he's going to tell us how to do that. So if you guys are ready, and we're going to hear what Cuzin has to say.
Before we move on, before we move on, I just wanna I just want to go over what we've just read and where it's actually at. It says, we alcoholics are undisciplined. So we let God discipline us in the simple way we have just outlined. And the simple way that we just outlined, you will actually find on pages 86 and 87, you know, because through the practice of discipline, what do I get from that? Let's look at that. Discipline gives me integrity, it causes me to be honest, and it helps me to relate to others because it takes discipline to do the things that are suggested on page 86. When we retire at night, constructively review our day. That's a discipline, right? And I have to look and see, was I resentful, selfish, or dishonest, or afraid? That's a discipline. Here's a big discipline right here. Do I owe someone an apology? When I was undisciplined, I wouldn't even think about that, and I definitely was not doing it. So these are the disciplines that we learn, And another big one is after I've become disciplined and more mature, I will think, have I kept something to myself that should be discussed with another alcoholic at once? Wow, that takes discipline. That takes commitment. That takes courage, and honesty. So this is what I get, by allowing God to discipline me with these instructions here, and they're laid right out in the book. Because I often wondered, what are they talking about? Outline in the book. And today I see the disciplines that help me to move on and to have a better relationship with higher power and to have a better relationship with others. Just like on awakening, that's a discipline, on awakening. Let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. And then we do what? We ask God to direct our things. These are the discipline instructions. If I can do this, I'm gonna grow in experience. I'm gonna grow in honesty. I'm gonna grow in integrity, and I'm gonna grow in courage. So discipline. This is the things that discipline actually gives us, and that's what they're trying to point out. You find the discipline that God has given us on pages 86 and 87. He's not beating us down and bossing us around and causing all kinds of negative things to happen to us like I used to think. No. He's gently giving me these suggestions, and if I do them, I'm going to see that the outcomes are going to benefit me and those around me. So thanks.
Thanks, cousin. Yeah, we appreciate you. That's a great message. Thank you for bringing that up. Melissa?
Thanks, Clyde. All right, Cuz, are you unmuted? Because I agree with you on the step 11, but when you said the discipline starts on it, but so I look at it as on 84, it tells me where I need to live, right? This thought brings me to step 10, which suggests I continue to take personal inventory, continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the path. We have entered the world of the spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for a lifetime. We continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. And we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code. To me, the discipline starts here and it continues through step 11. So, we say we live in 10, 11, and 12. That's where I get to grow in understanding and effectiveness with all three of those steps. So I asked Cuz to stay unmuted because I didn't want to, I wanted to have an open discussion about this because I agree with you. But for me, my discipline starts at that step, brings in 10 too, because if I'm not checking myself with that 10th step as well, I'm being cute again. And I don't do a very good job at playing God, so it's not cute when it comes out. That's a false sense of security I give myself. But do you really think that that's what that means when they say, so we let God discipline us in the simple way we have just outlined? To me, it's including 10 and 11. It's both of those, because 10 is key. That's where I live. That's where 1 through 9 shows up in my day. What do you think, Cuz?
I think that we find a discipline in all of the steps, actually. From the time that we take that third step, we're going to have to do some things that that are uncomfortable, but they're going to benefit us. So we find there's a program of discipline, and this is a program of repetition. So yeah, we're going to find it in all of the steps if we pay attention and start to follow. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Charity, come on in and share with us.
Hi, everybody. Charity, recovered alcoholic here. Really appreciate both what Jonathan and Yoda said. I have for your consideration group that I would love to discuss. When I read that, I think about the discipline from God. He disciplines us in a simple way we've just outlined. And here are the action steps that we need to take. We need to turn to God when we're agitated or doubtful. We pause, we pray, proceed. However, if we choose not to do those things, my experience is that when I'm running on self-will, I get to face the consequences of my choice to separate myself from my higher power, and I get to suffer the consequences of my self-will run riot by, being restless, irritable, discontent. And I just wanted to throw that out there for your guys' consideration. And I really love and appreciate, I think about discipline when it comes to learning a musical instrument. The more that I play the piano, the better I'm going to get. I'm going to be practicing that discipline. And I didn't consider that until Jonathan said that. But I also have lots of experience of running on self-will and suffering the consequences of my separation from my higher power, and how that leads me to trouble until I can come to a place where I pause, pray, and proceed.
Thank you for sharing with us, Charity. We appreciate you. Yeah, I just want to point out the way Joe and Charlie explained this is, if when we constructively review our day and give ourselves an honest assessment of how we did with our selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear, if we're having less of those negative qualities from self-will and more love and tolerance, and we've ceased fighting anything or anyone, and we're relaxed and taking it easy, as long as we're growing in that direction, less selfish, more interested and more helpful to others, loving and tolerant, patient, tolerant, kind and loving, etc., then we're changing for the better. We're growing toward our higher power, which is what we're supposed to be doing. So we can check ourselves. We're supposed to, each night when we retire. And I got to be honest, most days I have a pretty good day. I'm getting more and more. God is disciplining me. I'm following the directions, and he keeps changing me. So it's a simple test that we can all take and should be taking, and be honest with ourselves on how we're progressing. So it's that simple. If you're growing more and more into God's will and away from self-will, and that's what this is all about. That's what recovered alcoholics do. We just follow these directions and continue to experience this wonderful spiritual growth. So I think we're ready to move on then into carrying this message. Cousin, what do you think? You ready to move on? Chapter 7?
We are ready. We are ready. Let's do it.
Okay. So here we go again. Here's another one of those action. So we love the promises. There are so many promises in the big book. There's at least 150 of them. And here's a perfect example. There's an action, in the first part of this paragraph, and then there's a promise in the second part of this opening paragraph, chapter 7, working with others. So here's the action. It says, practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. So that's the promise, ensured immunity from drinking, and the action is intensive work with other alcoholics. That's what's going to keep me sober. Intensive work with other alcoholics. It works when other activities fail. I challenge you to find anybody out there who has relapsed that was engaged in intensive work with other alcoholics and was really on their A game with respect to service in this program. And then they decided, hey, it's a great idea. I'm going to go have a drink. I don't care. I bet you that never happens. Go ahead and come in, Cuzin. What do you think?
You know that I love this because this is how it all began, man. You know, and this is what they're talking about when they use that word, the altruistic approach, meaning one person helping another. I cannot do this alone. And Bill pointed out how this all started back on page 14. Remember, Clyde? Now listen, this guy's laying in the hospital bed. He's what is he, about 8 days sober? He had got him an introduction and an understanding of the steps from Ebby, and had a spiritual experience actually. Now, this is the craziest thing I ever heard in my life. But and I would have never done this, and this had never happened to me. But he says in the bottom of page 14, he says, as I lay in the hospital the thought came that there were thousands of hopeless alcoholics who might be glad to have what had been freely given to me. Perhaps I could help some of them. They, in turn, might work with others. I've never laid in a detox and thought that. You know, this is genius. This is where this was born at. You know, he came up with this. He said, as I lay in the hospital bed, listen, the thought came to me that maybe I could help some other people with what has been so freely given to me. You know, I mean, genius, a stroke of genius that had to come from God, you know. And Alcoholics Anonymous is actually one of the first group of people to start doing it like this. We know that the church has been doing it for years, working with one another and helping one another. But outside of that, you know, we picked up on it, and that's just what we do, and that's what the first paragraph is about. And we find it back on page 14. And what I often say is, and me and Clyde discussed it, what if he hadn't had that thought? Where the hell would I be right? Wow. Yo, go ahead. Anybody can. Where would I be if he hadn't had that simple thought?
Yeah, it's beautiful,
Where
Cuzin.
would we be? Where would we be?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. Yeah, it's amazing. Jody, come on in. What do you think of this? We can't hear you, Jody, for some reason. You're unmuted, but we can't hear your voice. No, can't hear you. You're not muted, but we can't hear you.
Maybe they could go out the room and come back in.
Yeah, you want to exit and come back in? Try that. Okay. Elissa, what do you think of this, working with others?
Thank you, Clyde. Alyssa, recovered alcoholic. Well, for me, that is my experience, that nothing so much ensures immunity from drinking as intensive work with others. Today it's others, because it's not just alcoholics, because the principles um, that are behind these steps, the principles in which I'm striving to practice in all of my affairs. You know, I'm not limited to just alcoholics. It started there. It started here. But it works when all other activities fail. That's my guarantee. When I continue to live in 10, 11, and 12, when I continue um, to carry this message to other alcoholics, you know, I can relate like no non-alcoholic can, right? I understand the hopeless state of mind and body, those irrational thoughts that want to come in and tell me, oh, it's okay, take a drink. You know, the last time you picked up a drink, you ruined your sister's wedding and your sister won't talk to you, your friends disowned you, but go ahead, pick up that drink, right? I can relate to that delusional thinking, the lie. Um, but today, the difference is when I'm at this step, I don't believe those thoughts. Those thoughts are just that, a lie. And I don't give in to them. I give in to my higher power. Thy will be done. And, you know, I get to carry my message. You know, where I was when I came into this way of life over 4 years ago, a lot different picture than where I am today. You know, you want to talk about the pits of whatever you call it, right? And, you know, Clyde called his the 9 millionth, but I'm in the 96 millionth dimension. Like there is no limit. And the thing is that at the end of the day, I have no control whether about anybody else stays sober. You know, I'm powerless over what everybody else does, right? You can take what I give or you can leave it. But one thing it does secure for me, it ensures my immunity because one, I'm repeating in my mind, my little pea brain that thinks it's okay for me to take a drink when it gets disturbed, right? Um, that's my illness. But it enforces in me the tools, the spiritual tools that work, right? It just told me on the previous page that it works. It really does. Well, when I live in 12 and I get to give away what was so freely given to me, it's reinforcing. So it's making that habit, that routine, much more effective. It's absolutely amazing. And, you know, I have an understanding that I'm not working with bad people. We're sick. We were spiritually sick and we just want to get well. And I can maintain my wellness by giving away what was so freely given to me. I had to quit playing God. It didn't work. Um, it's absolutely amazing. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Alyssa. And I want to do a little cross-referencing here regarding working with other alcoholics and carrying the message. This goes back, Cuzin already did. I'm going to pick up on that and move a little earlier in the book. Also, in the foreword to the second edition, it talks about Bill getting Dr. Bob sober through these 12 steps. And it says this, and then Dr. Bob stayed sober till he died in 1950. He got sober in the summer of 1935, June 1935, stayed sober till he died in 1950. And it says, this seemed to prove that one alcoholic could affect another as no non-alcoholic could. So we have an ability to help each other that other people don't have, one alcoholic helping another. And check this out. It also indicated, they're talking about Bill and getting Dr. Bob sober through the spiritual experience. It also indicated that strenuous work, one alcoholic with another, was vital to permanent recovery. Vital. That means I have to have it. If I want to be permanently recovered, it's vital for me to be strenuously working with other alcoholics. Now, Cuzin read about Bill in his story on page 14. It also talks about how it's imperative that he work with others. And here's why. At the bottom of page 14 in Bill's story, it says, for if an alcoholic failed to perfect and enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, he could not survive the certain trials and low spots ahead. So again, this is my life. It's a life and death thing. My life depends on me working with other alcoholics. So Bill says he and Lois abandoned themselves with enthusiasm to the idea of helping other alcoholics to a solution of their problems. And he says, when all other measures failed, work with another alcoholic would save the day. That's what kept Bill sober for 18 months, carrying the message. And then, so it's important. And then also on page 20, it says our very lives as ex-problem drinkers depend upon our constant thought of others and how we may help meet their needs. We have to be working with other alcoholics. That's what this program is all about. So that's why there's a whole chapter written and detailed directions on how to do it and what it's all about. And that's what keeps us sober, carrying the message. So it says, carry this message to other alcoholics. You can help when no one else can. You can secure their confidence when others fail. And it says, remember, they are very ill. It's a spiritual malady. That's the real illness here. It's a soul sickness that we suffer from. And these 12 steps, carrying this message, is what gets us overcome the spiritual malady so we can straighten out physically and mentally. Hi, come on in, Alyssa.
Hey, Clyde.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I just want to on what you said right there. See, because by by this time, first sanity had returned. We had turned our will and our life over to God, you know, sincerely, and He's running the show by now. So now we got something to offer. And the bottom line is, this is what it's telling us. It says that you can help when no one else can. You can secure their confidence when others fail. That is my experience. That is my experience. And you've heard me say it before. My wife couldn't do it. She couldn't help me. And she loves me. My children, you know, my mother, the doctors, right? The lawyer, the judge that gave me a break. I still went out and drank. But here came you alcoholics. And for some reason, you know, only God knows that your frequency and the things that you said helped me to get sober. And the reason is because that's one of the gifts that we get through taking the steps in this program is we get a power to help others. We get a power to help others. And I just heard this week, just sitting in a meeting this week, I heard somebody share a family member called and said that they need them to talk to another family member because everything else is just not working. And that just confirmed that this thing is real. You know, they done tried the doctors, they done tried the rehab, they done tried the therapist and everything. And then they turn around and they call cousin so-and-so. You better call cousin so-and-so. You know, he's been at it for a couple of years and see if he can help. You know, and what a joy it is when we get that call, you know. And if we stay, we're going to get that call and we're going to be able to use this power that has been given to us. And it's just so special. Yeah.
Thank you, cousin. Yeah, it's so true. We can help each other. Only an alcoholic can help an alcoholic. It's amazing. Nobody else can do it. Come on in, Alyssa.
Thanks, Clyde. Cuz hit on what I was going to, because there was a question proposed to me in the chat, and that's what I was going to hit on. But the referencing, you know, tell them. It was, how do I secure their consent? Tell them enough about your drinking, using, acting out. You know, tell them enough about your drinking. Where is it, Clyde? Hold on.
We're going to get there. I think you're jumping ahead.
Well, no, it's about how you can secure their consent, right? So you can secure their confidence when others fail. So how do I secure their confidence, right? That's what the question was asked. So if, where is it? Maybe Cuz can come in and jump, but we tell them enough about ourselves. we do this in the 12 and 4. That's where I'm going back to where I'm looking at that document right now that has the passage from the big book. Oh, okay. It says, so on page, yeah, we're not there yet, but it's going to tell us in proceeding. There's
Right.
it's a handful of pages ahead, but basically we secure their consent by telling us how we made our self-appraisal, right? Our step one, basically, right? How did we identify that we were hopeless? And maybe you or Cuz can answer that question, but because it's here in this paragraph, you can secure their confidence when others fail. Well, how do I secure their confidence? Was the question, right? So maybe you'll be able to put the words together to
Well,
answer that.
I'm chuckling because that's so simple, and you already know the answer. You just didn't verbalize it. The way that we help, the way that we secure their confidence is with the truth about ourselves.
Thank you. I was trying to say that without reading the whole 94
Yeah,
pages.
yeah. Because and that's what you guys sent me out with, and you know that, Alyssa. You know, a guy came and asked me to take them through the steps after I had been through the steps. I went back to my sponsor and I told him, I said, I wasn't sure, how I was going to do this, and he turned right to me and he said, "With the truth about yourself and this book, you're going to be able to help out." And I was like, wow. And he didn't say anything else. He stuck to that. He hasn't changed that story to this day. The truth about yourself and this book, you can help others. It's that simple. So you said it already. Yeah. What I need is the truth about myself. And that's what they're going to hear. And that's what they're going to understand.
Yeah, that's true. We just tell our story, and what Alyssa is alluding to is on page 91 and 92. It's, tell him enough about your drinking habits, symptoms, and experiences to encourage him to speak of himself. And then once he starts talking, then when he sees you know all about the drinking game, commence to describe yourself as an alcoholic. Tell him how baffled you were. You just tell your story, tell your truth, just like Cousin said. Just be honest and tell him, what happened, and he'll understand. If he's an alcoholic, he'll get it. Come on in, Jody.
Can I be heard now?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear
So
you.
maybe you and Cousin just answered this, but my question is, how do we know when we're ready to start sponsoring?
I know the answer to that,
When you,
but go ahead, Cousin. What do you think?
listen, when you have something to offer, when you have something to offer, it's that simple. Listen, if you're on the third step, you bring the person to the second step, and you bring them to the third step with you. You do your fourth step, you invite them to come along, because that's how this thing has always been done. Nobody's ahead of anybody or behind anybody. We're doing this together. People have come along and help me, and I don't even, the people that I started out sponsoring and we went through the steps. Now that's my network. I don't even call them no sponsee no more. Those are the people, the ones that stayed. They're helping me tremendously. So listen, this is how you look at it. And this is the truth. When I put my number in the chat and it says, Cousin Jonathan, call or text me anytime. Now check this out. I'm actually looking for help. And when someone comes and says that they want to go through the steps or they want me to be their sponsor, I thank God that God has sent somebody to help me. He sent somebody to help. So if you want to get help, start working with other alcoholics. That's how I get help. I don't get help sitting in a room, my legs crossed and shit with some kind of and all that kind of stuff. It's action. It's working with other people and sharing and going back and forth and just doing this. So you're probably ready and you don't even know it, but when somebody appears and they want your help, just start working with them. You'll see. There's no set time or
Actually,
anything like that.
here's the set time when you're ready for this promise. Check it out. Listen, that first paragraph we read is the action we take. We work with other alcoholics. That ensures immunity. Now, here's the promise right here, the second paragraph. If you're ready for this, Jody, if you're ready for this, then you're ready to start sponsoring. Do you want life will take on new meaning? To watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. Is this sounding good to you? Sounds absolutely wonderful to me. This is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is the bright spot of our lives. So if you want a bright spot and you want your life to take on new meaning and you want to help others, this is an experience you must not miss. That means you're ready. If you want to experience that, you are ready to sponsor people right now, today, literally.
Hey, and I'll tell you this, spiritual Clyde, check this out. This is how simple this thing can be, right? A guy came to me, he's a couple of years sober. Yeah, he's been through the steps and stuff like that with somebody else. But he said he wanted to learn how to take people through the steps quickly, right? So he came and he asked me to show him what you guys showed me in the book. We went through the book, we went through the steps. And like 2 weeks later, he's picking up sponsees. All he wanted to know was how to do it, and it was that simple. We sat down for about 2 days. We read the book. We did it straight out the book. We pointed out all the key points that we wanted to relate to others in the book about the step. And then, next thing I know, he's got 2 sponsees. And all he's doing is taking them through the steps. See, let me tell you what a sponsor's job is. See, we get confused on this, and this can hold us up. Listen, a sponsor's job is to help you to get in touch with a power greater than yourself. That's it. I know you was waiting for more, right? That's it. That's it. I want to help you to get in touch with a power greater than yourself that can solve your problem. Help you to get in touch with a power greater than yourself that can solve your problem. Help you. That's what a sponsor's job is. It's that simple. All of the phone calls and the suggestions that's extra. That's extra. But the main thing is to help you to get in touch with a power greater than yourself that can solve your problem, because I really can't. So don't forget that. We could get hung up and think that, sponsors supposed to be doing all of these backhand springs and double flips and, no. Help you to get in touch with a power greater than yourself that can solve your problem. And that's just what Clyde read too. If you're ready for that, to watch others grow, to watch them get in contact with their higher power, to watch them start living, to watch their eyes open, to watch them reunite with their families. Wow, to watch them get their driver's license back. And get back to work and all of that. Wow, it is wonderful. It is wonderful. So yeah, that's it. Hope that made sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think of this, Mama Bear?
I think it's awesome. Because I just love that belly laugh of yours, man. It just tickles me pink. But it's really that simple. It's getting someone to believe in a power greater than themselves, and the rest is easy breezy. You just follow directions, and I'm not one of those people like I put myself out there when I see a need. However, I'm not, because I'm very, I got to be very selective in who I bring into my world, because people, they might have good intentions. However, they can also pull you down, and I've experienced that one too many times to so I really got to watch myself. But the main thing is that get them to believe in a power greater than themselves. Thank you very much for letting me share. But I had to comment on Jonathan on that laughter. It's a belly of laugh. It's a gift from above, and it's a beautiful thing. Thank you very much for letting me share. Peace out.
Thank you, Loretta. We're glad you're here. Hi, Alyssa. What do you think of this?
Hey, Clyde. I was listening and yes. And so as I'm listening to Cuz, right, because it's not me, it's me using the tools, right? Because again, I can't be cute and throw my will into this because Cuz was talking about what it says on page 45. My favorite promise of this book, of this way of life, is that um, that's exactly what this book about. Its main object is enable me to find a power greater than myself, which will solve my problem. It has. You know, the God of my experience today solves any problem that wants to enter into my arena. It doesn't. It doesn't get to exist. Problems don't exist in my life today. Opportunities come in where I get to pick up these spiritual tools. Um, but if I follow the directions, right, these clear cut directions, as it's told me a couple times up to this point, but on page one, and I know we're not here yet, but a cross reference, it starts at the bottom of page 162. It says, thus we grow, and so can you. Though you be but one person with this book in your hand, and this is the book they're talking about. They're not talking about any other. This is the book. We believe and hope it contains all you will need to begin. You've been given the tools. You've been given what you need to help others, right? Am I going to stay in self-will and block not only myself, but other people off from the sunlight of the spirit by not practicing step 12? And then it says, we know what you are thinking. You are saying to yourself, I'm jittery and alone. I couldn't do that. But you can. You forget that you have just now tapped a source of power much greater than yourself. To duplicate with such a backing what we have accomplished is only a matter of willingness, patience, and labor. There's that willingness, honesty, and open-mindedness. He just used patience and labor, right? But we have the tools. We're blocking ourselves if we are saying we're not ready. Because if we've gotten to this point in the book, you have everything that you need. If you've gotten to page 89, you have everything you need. And this chapter is going to give you the clear-cut directions on how to maintain the spiritual principle of service. That's the principle behind step 12. And I love this conversation that was going on because that's where I was able to make the connections between all this. I'm listening, I'm like, yup, and that's where it says this. Why? Oh, I've read the book. That's how I know. Because I was told that this book, I was told on page 45 that this book will enable me to find a power greater than myself, which will solve my problem. It doesn't tell me to end at stop reading at page 88. You know, I stopped reading at page 164. The directions end at 164, and then that's where the personal stories begin. You know, where I can read and say, okay, I don't know if I'm mixed. Let me go read one of these stories. Let me see where I can identify. Do I see my character trait in one of these 42 personal stories? Okay, yes. And this is how they've all used these same directions, right? So those are normal feelings, right? Those are those ants coming around in our head, those automatic negative thoughts that are used to being there because we've let them stay there, but they're not welcome anymore now that we're on a basis of trusting, relying upon our higher power today. It's absolutely beautiful. And I can tell you that these 12-step promises started manifesting before I actually put step 12 into action. It's important that I followed the directions up until this point because these promises started manifesting in preceding steps. And that's just how it works with each one of the steps in the promises. If I missed a direction or if I tried to do an easier, softer way or a half measure in any of it, I've missed the process of manifesting a promise. And so sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, they will always materialize if I work for them. And so the way I work for them is I follow the directions as they're outlined, right? And really, every step takes me back to God, my higher power. Every step gives me directions back to my higher power. Reaffirming my favorite promise of this book on page 45, that it enables me to find a power greater than myself, which solves my problem. It's absolutely amazing. I could go on, but I'm gonna give it back to
Thank you, Alyssa. We appreciate that. So you guys are ready to move. So I hope everybody's sold now on the importance of the 12th step and working with others. Number one, we have to do it if we want to be ensured immunity from drinking. And number two, we get to do it and receive these promises, these blessings about our life taking on a new meaning. And it's an experience we don't want to miss. It's a bright spot in our lives. So it's a win-win. It keeps us sober and it enhances our life. It makes our life much better. So that's why we do 12-step work, those two reasons. So I think we have time to, should we read the next paragraph? It's pretty straightforward.
No.
No, we're going to break. Okay.
Well, I think this is a good. I think this is a good place to stop right there, where it gives us a great introduction of the 12-step, and you know, it's listen. That's what we say, man. Listen, join a home group, right? Get a sponsor, take the steps, start working with others, right? Become a sponsor, start your own home group. Stay sober, live long, die, leave a legacy of people staying sober. Go all the way. Go all the way. Go all the way. And this is where it begins in that 12th step. Shoot. There's people who started working with people years ago, and the message, this same message was given to them, and they're still helping. You'll never know how many thousands of people will be helped, later on after we're dead and gone, for real. And that's what's up, and so yeah, this is what it is. This is what it is. 12-step work is so exciting, working with other alcohol.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the ripple effect, cousin. Us getting sober and staying sober and carrying the message and helping another alcoholic, that helps that alcoholic, and then that alcoholic goes and helps a bunch of other alcoholics, and so on and so forth. It just keeps rippling the benefits. God takes it and just ripples the heck out of it and blesses countless people. It's really miraculous. It's wonderful. So
and you and I both know, Clyde, that there's no other feeling like it. I mean, the first guy that asked me to take them through the steps, I called them probably about 6 months ago, and he's got 36 months sober. And it's undescribable feeling that God let me be a part of that. Nothing like it. Nothing like it.
Yeah. Love it. So, okay, well, cousin, yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up then, and we'll pick up here next week where we left off. You want to read the rest of our, closing?
Yeah, let me get that up. I'm almost there.
Yeah, thanks for being here, everyone. It's been a great, wow. We're going into some detail here about, that 11th step, 10th, 11th step in our higher power and communication. And now the 12-step working with others, this is really, 10, 11, and 12 is like the meat and potatoes, some really significant part of our program. And just glad to be studying it, keeping it simple, and sharing experience with it. And what the book says about it.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So this is what they told me to do. We want to thank everyone for coming and participating in the Big Book Study podcast with us. Don't forget that we meet here every Sunday from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. in this room. The podcast will be available this Friday. It comes out this Friday. Join us on Telegram for updates. Now, the Big Book says, page 164, our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize that we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order, but you obviously cannot transmit something that you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is a great fact for us. So abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the past of your wreckage. Give freely and join us, and we shall be with you in the spirit of the fellowship. Surely you will meet some of us as you trudge the road to happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. So let's close this meeting with the Lord's Prayer. Who woke us up this morning? Our
Our
Father,
Father,
who art
who
in
art in
heaven,
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 hallowed
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 be thy
be
name.
Your name,
thy
Thy
kingdom
kingdom
come,
kingdom
come,
come,
be
thy
done.
will
will
be
be
done
As
done
in
on
on
heaven,
earth
earth
as it
give
is in
us
earth
this
heaven.
day our
and
daily
heaven.
bread, and
Give
forgive
us
us
this
our
day
trespasses, as we forgive those who
our
trespass
trespasses,
against us. And lead us not
those
into
who trespass
temptation,
against
but
us.
deliver us from
And
evil.
lead us not
For
into
thine is the kingdom,
temptation,
the
deliver
power,
us from
and the
evil.
glory
Thine is the
forever.
kingdom, the
Amen.
power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen, amen, amen. Okay. What a great podcast. Thank you all for coming out and helping us to stay sober. We do this together.